The Eternal Derby in Belgrade finishes in a 2-2 draw in a match that was, in terms of quality, I don't know if it was the most quality derby I've ever seen, but there was a lot of things happening. There was a lot of things happening. There's a lot of chances created. Very, very entertaining. I think if you were a neutral fan, you really enjoyed it. If you're a Red Star fan, you would have enjoyed it a lot more if some of the goals actually went down. But at the end, 2-2 draw. Partizan is still 1 point ahead of Red Star going into the rest of the season. I think there's 5 more matches until the playoffs, so um, that leaves us with what, like 12 matches left in the season. So it's gonna be a very interesting battle. So in terms of the starting lineup, I think everything was what we had expected. Um, in terms of the players who were going to start. The only somewhat question I think the Red Star had is who's going to be the bonus player. So in the Serbian League, I've mentioned this before, you have to have a player who's 21 years old or younger on the pitch at all times. Vladimir Lucic, I think, would have started this match if he didn't get injured, and he's out for the rest of the season, which is a big blow. A lot of you know, he receives a lot of stick from the fan base because he does try to over dribble at times, but he's a player who can create a lot offensively for Red Star, and he's one of the best at doing that on this team. I would say so. It's just that sometimes he does get way too ahead of himself, and he just tries way too much. But that's kind of like proving that he's worthy and that he should get playing time. Look, I'm not going to review every single chance that Red Star had because if I did that, this video would probably be 55 minutes. But there was just so many chances in the opening 15 minutes. Easily could have been up 3-0. You have Stamenic who misses from 7-8 yards out. You got to force the goalkeeper to make a save. The ball just goes to the far left post. You have Bukhari who missed from, I want to say, even closer. I feel like it was the goalkeeper's 5 yard box that he missed from, or 3 yard box, whatever it is. And then there were some other chances that the team had that we just we had to bury. And what I loved was the link up play between Ivanic and Huang. They created big time problems for Partizan, especially in the first half. I think in the second half it kind of slowed down a little bit, but in the first half they were just way too much to handle. Rodic did exceptionally well as well. I think he was the one who crossed the ball into Bakari on that miss. And I think not the turning point of the match, but we'll see how this shapes up in the rest of the season, and we'll see how long he's injured for. But Alexander Dragovic getting injured, I think, was a big time blow for Red Star. Um, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. It looked like he separated his shoulder from, he's kind of holding his arm or his clavicle or something, but um, it looked like a scary injury. And he was already coming into the match. He wasn't fully fit. He had a hamstring injury, which is something that's very kind of difficult to heal during the season. So he was already battling that, and he looked pretty good. He looked like didn't miss a beat, but the injury was just kind of too much to overcome, and he wanted to continue, but he just couldn't. So Nazir Giga was substituted in. Giga hasn't played a lot. It's been pretty much Spajic and Dragovic in the second half of the season who have been getting most of the playing time. So he's kind of been the odd man out, getting minutes here or there. So um, big blow for Red Star if Dragovic is out. We fast forward to the 41st, 42nd minute off a corner kick where Spajic buries a ball, in the top corner. Excellent take from him. Excellent take from a center back. He really did a good job of getting to the ball and making sure that Alexander Jovanovic, who was Partizan's best player and player of the match easily, I think in this one he saved a lot of point blank range um, stops, and then in the second, and then a minute later, Partizan scores, and now it comes. It's Mihailovic kind of playing a position that he's. We've said this before. He's not. It's not his forte. That right back position where he basically started a counter attack for Partizan, whipping the ball. Glazer saves the ball, but it comes right to Saldana, who slots it into the back of the net. Um, I don't know if I don't know how you would have prevented this goal apart from Mihailovic not having the turnover that he did, but everything else was like commentator said there was some like miscommunication with the goalkeeper and Udo Spajic. I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. It was a pretty good save that Glazer had made that came right to Saldana, and he buried it, and that's his second goal in the last two derbies, or the two derbies that he's played. And then we kind of go into halftime and it's 0-0 again, so to say. If you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. It means a lot to me. Thank you. And then the second half starts, and Kanga makes a mistake right off the bat, 46th minute. Now, Kanga is a guy who catches. I can't give him too much flack because he's the reason he's kind of been carrying this team since we've come back from in the second half of the season. So he's been the guy who's orchestrating offensively, assists, goals, everything that you need him to do offensively. It's games like this, matches like this, where push comes to shove, and his nonchalantness and his like no desire to kind of play defensively really cost the team. And Partizan came out very strong in the second half. That led to a counterattack, which was blocked by Uder Spij from about 7 or 8 yards out. Excellent block. I think if he doesn't get to that, it's probably a goal, and it's 2-1 for Partizan. And then it was kind of Red Star controlling most of the play, and off a counter, which was again probably the attack of the match for Partizan. Goh gets it through Kanga's legs, and I think that he was the one who sent Kalulu out, sent the ball in front of him. It was just a perfectly I don't know if there's anything that could have been done. Mijalovic, I think, was the center back or the last man back. He couldn't have caught the ball because it was out of Mijalovic's reach, but just enough for Kalulu to get his foot on it. And Glazer dove, but he couldn't stop. And Kalulu's speed definitely made that goal happen because the counterattack was very, very, very quick. And that's how they made us pay. And from that point on, it was pretty much the Red Stars attack. And the second goal comes off a corner kick as well. Huang to Sharif Ndiaye, who now, that goal in the last derby is still kind of a mystery who scored it. Was it Katai or Ndiaye? Let's just say that he scored the one in that derby and that he scored in this derby as well. So 2 goals in his 2 derbies. Huge boost from him. He's been a different player under Vladimir Milojevic, and I think he uses him a little bit different than what Barak Bakar did. And it's paying dividends right now because he has a bunch of goals since we've returned from the break, and he's been really good. And I think Huang is starting to fit in as well. And I talked about Huang earlier. Him and Ivanic were excellent in that first half. In the second half, they kind of tailed off a little bit. And at 2-2, Severina picks up a second yellow. I'm not sure it's a second yellow. With VAR, it's when you get a yellow, obviously you can't review it, but because it wasn't a straight red, you can't review it. But it isn't a yellow. It is in the sense that he did make contact with his face, but it isn't in the sense that it's not enough contact to warrant a card. And it's not like he was preventing a counterattack or anything like that. So I'll say that I don't think that the second yellow was warranted. But I'll say this: if you're Severino, you have to know that you're already on a yellow card, and that pretty much any other start you're going to get a second yellow. So it's kind of on his side. He has to be aware of that factor as well, that you can't play freely when you're already on a yellow card because one little mistake and you're off, and he was off. And from then on, it was just all Red Star, a million chances, hit the woodwork probably 3 or 4 times. Point blank range stops from Jovanovic that were out of this world. Like I said, he was the man of the match. Clearly, this could have been 7 or 8 for Red Star if not for Jovanovic. And yeah, he was standing on his head pretty much. Great atmosphere, I'll say, at the stadium. A lot of fans came out, which is great to see. And like I said, it was the most entertaining derby that I've seen probably for sure in the last 10 years. Like easily in the last 10 years, it's the best derby. And I think the fact that there was so much to play for, the Partizan with a 4-point lead, they're sitting up nicely. I don't think the season still would have been done, but 4-point lead with 12 matches left. I know it sounds like a lot. It's a big lead. I think it's a huge lead. And even if Red Star won, we would have been 2 points up. The season still isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. So there was a lot to play for. And I think that's why if Partizan was left with 11 men on the pitch, they would have attacked, and then Red Star would have done the same thing. The only thing I'll say from Partizan's side, Dulai pulled all of his offensive players out, and I understand like you're a man down and you want to defend, but I still would have liked to have seen like Saldana stay out there. And I know that he was injured heading into the match. Nato kind of plays his 65, 70 minutes for how long he can run, and Kalulu went off, and someone else went off. I can't remember. Zakid went off as well, who had another assist. He has 2 assists in his first 2 derbies as well. So he kind of pulled all those guys, and that was the point of the match where I think it was 2-1 at that point still. That's at the point of the match where I was like, we can get a second goal because he's completely gone defensively now. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do in matches like this. I do understand the philosophy behind it. You're just trying to get away. If it was 2-1 at that point, I can't remember right now. You want the 3 points obviously, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, even if we concede, we're still a point up with 12 matches left. So I completely understand it. But like I said, very exciting derby that we saw today. Probably the most exciting one we've seen in the last 10 years. Let me know what you thought about the derby. Let me know what you thought about who the man of the match was below in the comments.